Amir. You're on the line with Alyssa, where I'm just talking about you here. I see it says you wanted to talk about what is religion's place in the world, and I'm not that interested in that conversation. If you want to talk about why you think people should believe in a God, I'd love to have that conversation, but I guess I'll just ask you, what exactly were you wanting to talk about?
I mean, yeah, from a more practical standpoint, if we can say that, if a hypothetical I would have put forth, if there is a creator, the one that has created a human being, wouldn't the creator know the human being better than the human being themselves?
Well, for me to even go down that path, I'd have to be convinced that there is a creator, first of all. So I'm not convinced. So I don't think that there's some religion that happens to know more about humans than they know about themselves. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's a hypothetical, right? If the whole point of the if is when I say religion, I wouldn't say that all religions can be true. I think we can agree upon that because all religions contradict each other. They can't all be from the same source because they're when one's saying go left, one is saying go right. I was saying if there is that one true message.
A lot of contradicting religions.
Yeah. I don't think any two religions can be used together because they're gonna clash. But I'm saying if there is that one true message, would it be practical to follow it? Because who else would know the human being better than the one that made it from a practical standpoint?
To me, just right off the bat, the red flags would be, why is there a creator that created beings that don't know as much as they could know about themselves? Why did he withhold information? Why did this God decide that he's going to be a higher power? In which case, I don't really want to work with that God. I'd like to find some opponents and maybe go figure out, what I could without, because to me, it would then seem like that God is wielding this power and needing to have a hierarchy. And I don't think that's right. And I don't want to participate in that. So that wouldn't make me want to follow it, because I don't want to be some subservient, citizen in this ant farm that this, dictator creator has made and is just experimenting and doing what they want based off of their own agenda. And meanwhile, I don't have my own ability to do what I want based off of knowledge I should have access to that apparently this creator has decided I don't get access to.
We have to be all knowledgeable to know everything. But since we are finite and not perfect, there are going to be limitations in our knowledge, and we figure things out as we go along. That can also be another theological argument. You can't have multiple all-knowing beings or all-powerful beings.
Why not?
Why not? Why does God need to have the ultimate power over everyone else? Why can't it be power with instead of power over?
No, he has power, but he gives us power as well. Power and knowledge, capability. We have power, right, and capability. We have knowledge, but not all knowledge or infinite wisdom, whatever you want to call it. And we use that knowledge to move around through the world and stuff. But we say God is the ultimate source of it all.
But we haven't found a way to. God won't show himself and won't prove that he exists, which makes no sense to me. So we're meant to have limited knowledge and rely on faith because that's how this whole system was designed. And that doesn't really feel. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, your question too was, why wouldn't we want to then follow that, and wouldn't we think that's the better way to live? And that was my answer to you, is no, I don't want to follow a being that has decided it's going to continue this hierarchy of a God and its creations. I'm not interested in that. And I'm not interested in what that God has decided for my life. That's not of interest to me. And I don't think that's beneficial to society.
I think it's also confusing to me to understand, again, that this is a all-knowing being that has created this little world and like as a marionette where there's so much suffering. And like in the beginning of the show, we were talking about how interesting it is that when these musicians and very accomplished, talented people go up to accept an award that they put their blood, sweat, tears, and time into, and then thank God for that award. And then in that same show, we're fundraising for a fire that destroyed an entire part of LA County. So the homes of thousands of people and millions of dollars that need to be fundraised for that. At the same time, we're thanking God for them winning this award while these people are wearing dresses that are thousands and thousands of dollars. And this is something that God created, which is confusing to me. So I don't feel like that's a person that's creating in integrity or creating in love for the people that he's created. He's creating out of ego.
So like, is your argument effectively, since there's evil in the world, there's not a God? Is that the argument?
No, Amir, you're getting off track here because I let you take the conversation a place where I told you I already didn't want to go, which is it good? Is religion, good for the world or whatever? And we both gave you our answers as to why we wouldn't want to follow that God's ways, because that's ridiculous that there would be the ways of a God. But now you're saying, oh, is that why you think there isn't a God? No, we haven't gotten to that. You need to tell us why you think there is a God, and then we can take the path down that conversation.
Yeah, I was going to, but you mentioned like was it the fires? I mean, I was going to go off of that. That's all, the fires and the.
But that's a good reason. That's a good reason to not follow that God. That's a great reason to not follow that God.
Fires, But I'm going off of that. Are you saying because there is wildfires and suffering, there's not a reason to follow the God? Is that the argument?
That is a good reason to not follow a God. If this God cannot even protect its own creations from its other creations, which would be a wildfire, then that's really not a being I'm interested in following. We both gave lots of reasons, though, and now you're hitting this one particular reason.
No, I mean, there are a couple of points that are made. That was one of them. That's why I want to address it. You mentioned that this God won't show himself. So, like, suppose hypothetically you could see God. Would you then believe or no? Would that be showing himself?
I would believe that a God exists if there was verifiable evidence that all could participate in. So if we could all see God, even then, I don't know about this whole seeing thing because we know about mass hallucinations. I guess if every single human being alive could see God and we could interact with it like any other being, then sure. But I would need really clear evidence that the only possible option is that it is a God, not an hallucination, not some kind of scam. I would need a really good reason to believe that a God exists, which that's kind of what I wanted to get to in this conversation. Oh, go ahead, Alyssa.
I was going to say the same way that we do scientific studies where they have to be, I think Arcana just said it in the chat, demonstrable, verifiable, and repeatable. Like that is how we define something that can be like, if we can repeat this scientific this result, then we know that it's true. That feels like a similar thing that we would need to be able to prove that anything that's going to claim to be God will also be true. Which if we could do it with science, and we could do it with things like gravity. What is God more powerful than gravity? He says he is. So it should be that. What we're asking sounds like a big ask if you don't believe in God. But if you do, that should not be hard for him to achieve.
Yeah, Amir, that brings me back to the initial conversation that I am willing to have with you, which is, what is your reason for believing in a God, and why should we believe?
I mean, I think we spoke before, so I mean, I'll stick with my original arguments, but I don't want you to think it's a script, because that's what I was accused of using. But I mean, if you look at the world around us, I think it was with you and Forrest, the idea of complexity and design. it was, I think it was also with math. He put forth a standard. It was basically, if we see something that is consistent, and as you guys mentioned, if it's just repeatable and consistent, and every time we do this experiment, we see the same outcome, then wouldn't it make sense then to believe in this thing always to be that way, or infer that this will be this way tomorrow? And when it comes to information and complexity, there is not a single example that I can put forth or anybody's put forth yet of where we find complexity with no design, with no intelligence behind it. So kind of like when it comes to the laws of logic, the law of identity, excluder middle, and the law of non-contradiction.
Wait a second.
Yes.
We don't. First of all, let me just let you know my stance on complexity. I don't think complexity equals designer. To me, the more complex something is, the more poorly designed it was. The most simple designs are the most efficient, which to me implies the highest amount of intelligence behind the design. So you've already lost me on that count. But I think I just heard you say something about we haven't seen signs of complexity without intelligent designer. What are you talking about? The whole entire universe exists, and you have yet to prove an intelligent designer behind it. So that's presupposing something that I'm not willing to agree to at all.
I'm saying that it doesn't negate a designer. Like, that doesn't mean that there's no creator. That's the thing I'm asking.
I need you to prove that there is for me to believe something. I'm not going to believe something unless I have a good reason to believe it. So you saying, well, you can't prove that there isn't, that's not how burden of proof works.
Well, that's not. Well, you mentioned a point also about how you define complexity. You said complexity, the more complex something is, the more poorly designed it is. Is that what you mentioned?
Oftentimes, in my opinion, with what I've witnessed in life, yes.
Yeah, so is the brain poorly designed if it's complex?
I don't think the brain is designed.
I'm saying, is it complex? Therefore, is it poorly designed?
I don't know what I think about it. Complex compared to what?
Complex compared to the heart, compared to the stomach, compared to the lungs. I think it's to say that the brain is not complex would be dishonest. It's like the most complex structure in the universe with all the parts that we still yet to know about.
Can you define?
We know like 1% about it.
But there are parts of the brain that are. The brain is not a flawless design either. The brain is not
a terrible design.
Yeah, it's like there's a lot of things about our brain that is not well designed, pretty explicitly. So I don't think that this is really even a good example.
I mean, it can not efficient. I mean, you can say to say it's poorly designed. I mean, with everything that it's like operating on our bodies right now.
I don't think it's designed. I think it has evolved to be this way.
I mean, yeah, if you could choose, if the word evolved, I'm saying would be poorly evolved then. Because if you do agree it is complex, is it poorly evolved to like, is it non-efficient, non-optimal? But I don't think nobody would say that, right?
I think it is. I think it is what it is. But we're just getting so far off track. I'm asking you, what are good reasons to believe that this creator exists at all? So far, I'm just hearing, like you said, well, I think things are complex and I think that demands a creator. Well, my response to you is, I don't think complexity demands a creator, and I don't think that's a good reason to believe in a creator.
I mean, yeah, I was going to bring up then with that, for example, the law of non-contradiction. We all agree upon that, but I can't give you evidence that it's true. The law of non-contradiction. The three laws of logic, we accept them as laws. But what evidence do we have that they're laws? I can't give you evidence that they are true, but I believe in them. Would you say that's a bad stance to take when it comes to that?
No, because I think the purpose of those laws is to find truth. Like, those principles are what help us find truth. And that's not the same thing. Those are principles versus an omnipresent sky daddy who apparently created all of us, but created us to be flawed. And then we have to apologize for being flawed so that he'll let us into like his little Mile High Club at the end of our lives that he designed. You're talking about principles.
Yeah, and let me put it this way for you, Amir, because you keep taking this so far. Amir, let me put it this way for you, because this keeps getting taken so far off track. Give me a good reason to believe that I get to choose that, because Alyssa and I are the hosts here. So I'm going to steer this back again. Give me a good reason why I should believe that a God created the universe instead of, let's say, this being a simulation or part of a multiverse or something that that a little pink unicorn that is invisible and lives right next to me on my desk designed. Give me a reason to think a God did all of this and not any of those other things.
That's the reason I put forth. Like, if you're saying, unless you want to claim that pink unicorns are like superior intelligent beings, I'll ask you why do you believe in that, right? Like, what reason do we have, like Santa Claus, be whatever, what reason do I have to believe in Santa Claus? You know what I'm saying? All I'm saying is, like, my phone, for example, as a creator, and I can infer.
Please don't do the watchmaker fallacy.
Does my phone not have a creator?
Your phone is literally made. This is a fallacy. I just had this conversation with somebody the other day. We do this every day here, and it's getting really old. And you've called in so many times now. I feel like you know this. And I don't think that you're wanting to engage honestly because you've had this conversation so many times, and it's gone the same way every time. That's probably why you've been accused of having a script. I don't mean a literal script, but your brain is set to, I have to continue believing this thing to the point that I won't follow the conversation through logically. That's what's happening here. A phone, we can look and go see who invented it and then who designed it. I can go right now somewhere and watch people sit there and make a phone. I can take it apart and see the parts that were made by other humans. Because we've witnessed this. This is the thing. It's not the same as a rock or a tree. Go find me the factory where the trees are being made and the God that's there making them.
Okay, so are you saying we have to see something to believe it? That would be my question.
Nope, I'm not saying that at all. That's not what I'm saying.
So me blindly.
So Amir, unless Alyssa wants to continue this conversation, because I have talked to you a couple of times before, and because it does keep going the same way, which is where as soon as I try to ask a direct question, you just take it off track over and over and over again because you don't want to engage with the line of logic I'm taking you down. I'm just not interested in it because you've just responded to everything with either false assertions about what I've said, or you've raised a different question that has nothing to do with this. And so far in these 17 minutes, I still haven't heard one single good reason to believe any of the multiple claims you've made now.
I have put forth reasons, but you're not accepting is one thing. I haven't made a false assertion. I've asked questions, right? So I said, do you have to see something to believe it? I didn't say that you have to. I said, I have the question. So it's not an assertion, it's a question. So that was, so like, when you're saying that, I'm directly addressing it, basically. That's my question. You said I can go to the factory and see. So then my follow-up question, not assertion, but question, are you saying that we have to see it? If I take my phone blindly and look at it and assert, now I'm asserting that it does have a creator.
So I already answered that. And it seems you were not listening. And then I also ended my answering your question with saying, I'm not interested in the conversation further, unless Alyssa wants to talk to you. So I don't know, Alyssa, are you interested in more of this? Basically fine-tuning argument. Okay.
I think
Amir, if you want to go listen to this call and hear what I'm hearing, which is not answers, and then maybe you pick up on something that I've missed and you want to call back another time and say, look, this is the reason why I think you should believe that a God created all of this, or this is the reason why I think you should believe a God exists, or whatever it may be, you're welcome to do that. But when everything is responded to with a question or with, well, what about, well, this or that, are you saying that, then that's not giving me reasons. We still haven't gotten to the point where you say, here's the good reason. So
for the reason of complexity.
We'll chat. We'll chat with you another time if you want.
Not a reason.
Yeah, we already addressed it. And I remember talking with you with Forrest. We addressed this over and over and over again, and it went the same way. So I'm going to let you go. You can try again in the future with another host, maybe with myself and Alyssa. But have a great evening.
All righty. You too.
Complexity is not a reason. That's
it's
crazy.
An actual fallacy that we've addressed a million times. And I want to go listen to the call with Forrest. As you can imagine, Forrest went after that one.
That's a perfect call for Forrest, actually. A perfect call for him. So wait, what is the watchmaker fallacy, that if you have not seen every piece of the watch be put together, how do you know that someone made it?
No, watchmaker fallacy, it's the fallacy that oftentimes you have theists bring up, where they'll say, well, a watch has a watchmaker, so the universe must have a universe maker. And you're comparing apples and oranges in this situation. Their whole thing they come at you with is, well, somebody said, if you found a computer in a cave, I think that's one of the conversations we had, would you think that it, just appeared there? Or would you think that it had a creator? I would think that somebody made the computer, but the cave itself, I wouldn't think that somebody had to have made the cave. I would think, oh, this might be like a natural thing that happened. So anyways, it's fun times.
That's the craziest argument I've ever heard.
It's weird though, because we were getting more interesting arguments this past year. And then all of a sudden the last few months, I feel like or last month or so, I feel like we've gotten so many of these like fine tuning and like some of these most basic apologetics arguments that obviously all of these are repetition anyways. But I'm like, is somebody making these terrible arguments popular again or something? It's fine. We can address them. I already know that we've talked to Amir through this conversation over and over and over again. And so I'm not interested in, I'd rather have that conversation with a theist we haven't talked to on the show before, because then that means there's a chance that they're going to engage honestly and think about what's being said. I think Amir is just here to, throw some apologetics at us, not to actually engage in the conversation, honestly. So. Hey guys, thanks for watching that last clip on Chewed Gum. You can catch us live Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Central Time. And please tell your Christian friends to give us a call and let us know why they believe in God. You can also support us by commenting, liking, and subscribing. And head over to patreon.com/calltheline.